Hello. This is the video that I've been waiting to make. I started back at university 1 year ago, January 2022. This semester, the reading list is quite heavy. And just to let you know, there's going to be two versions of this video. There's going to be the public version. There's going to be the Patreon version. Why? There are some things that will be taken out of the public version. So if you'd like the unrated version, not for public consumption, that will be available on Patreon for $3 a month. You can support me and you can feel good. Say, yes, I'm supporting this sweet young university student who's just full of aspiration for the future. All right, semester 4, university experience year 2. I'm taking 5 classes. 3 creative writing classes and 2 English literature classes. English literature is quite good, a lot of reading. Creative writing is quite good, a lot of writing. So I'm going to start with the creative writing classes because there is a bit less of a book list, and I'll finish with the English literature classes because, well, the opposite reason. So starting off, creative writing 3220, which is taught by an older gentleman who has quite a lot of experience in both film and the theater. For that class, there's no reading list, and I don't even know if we will be reading any scripts. Like, we do occasionally get some handouts, but so far, everything that we've been given has been nothing that I can identify. Maybe little bits and snippets from Casablanca. We do a fair bit of writing in that class. That's good, although he's rather strict about it can only be 2 characters in one room. When one character speaks, it cannot be longer than 20 words. When COVID began, I had the idea for writing a film script. It is going to be something like, should I tell you? For Patreon. So for that creative writing class, there is no reading list. So why don't we just move on, Grant? Yes, why don't we? Creative writing 3200. That creative writing class is short stories, writing short stories. That's all it is. And during the semester, we will have to write 2 short stories. Okay, no problem. As far as a reading list, we have this book, which I got from the library because I just absolutely refused to buy it, Writing Short Stories. Is it good? I can't say. To be honest, I have a hard time taking instruction manuals on how to write a short story or a novel or a symphony or a script. I have a hard time taking them seriously. Why? If you're such a great writer, what are you doing wasting your time writing this? Why aren't you working on your magnum opus? It's probably good. I'm just too cynical, right? Every week we will be given a short story to read. This week we were given the first story in this collection. All I remember is it's the first one in the collection. As well, one of our tasks is to make a presentation on a collection of short stories which we have not read before. When I read that, I didn't see the second part of the criteria. All I saw was make a presentation on a collection of short stories. And my first idea was, wow, fantastic. I want to do a presentation on Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino, one of my favorite collections of all time. And then I saw that it had to be something that we had not read before. Now I have a bit of an ethical dilemma. Shall I tell the teacher that I've never read this? And I do plan to read it again. I'm not trying to get out of reading it a second time. I'm tremendously looking forward to reading it a second time. Probably my understanding of it will be a lot deeper and richer on reading it a second time, whereas reading something for the first time, maybe you get 50%, maybe you get 60%, but you just never get 100%. So if I do decide to be quite diligent, I'll be reading Primo Levi's The Table of Elements, which is something else that I've been looking forward to reading anyway. One or the other, they're both fantastic books. It's just I know that is fantastic, whereas Primo Levi, I assume it is because of everything I've read and the Primo Levi I've read in the past. Right. Now we get to the third and final creative writing class, which is CRWR 2900. And oh well, for Patreon, something else. All right, back to YouTube. This creative writing class, the subject is hybrid forms. And when I registered for the class, I didn't quite understand what that meant. I thought hybrid forms might be like, say, like video poetry or on the stage dancing and reciting some poetry. I really had no idea. And now that I have the book list, I have a better idea what it is. I shouldn't really offer any comments or criticism because I haven't read any of the books, but I've glanced at them. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I'm a bit of a classic literature kind of guy. Like, one of my favorite writers is Balzac, 200-year-old French writer. I like the classic stuff, and this hybrid forms is really the really modern stuff, which is, well, today, as far as everything goes, today that is not quite my cup of tea. Who knows though, by the end of the semester, maybe she will convert my way of thinking and I will become a devoted hybrid forms lover and proponent. I doubt it. The first book on the reading list is a Canadian writer, Andrea Actis, gray all over. There's a lot of pictures. I'm trying to keep the book nice because I want to read it and return it to the bookstore. If I get halfway through the book and I think, well, I like this book and I would like to keep it on my bookshelf, I will. But when I see something like this, a grocery bill, large eggs, pork roast, steak, mushrooms, ground beef, a grocery bill, there's a picture of something on a shelf. This is, I guess, what hybrid forms means. Here's his stupid hat. Wait, what about his cash? I gave you 50, right? Yeah, so you should have 350 there. Weird, hang on a sec. I did give you a 50, right? So 60, 70. How did he spend $300 last night? I don't know, sweetie. Unless he had money in his jeans pocket and it fell out or something. I don't know what he does with his fucking money. Where are his jeans? On him. Do they give those back to us? I hope so. I just can't believe he died. I can't believe it either, sweetie. I'm praying I'll wake up and this is just not happening, but I feel it's somehow very true that this is happening. Where the hell did he go and his money? Maybe it's in the pony. That's a book, and it cost $24.10. Yeah, she was born in 1984, 11 years after me. Where is my book? And this was published in 2021. So yeah, the crazy modern stuff. I'll let you know. A History of My Brief Body by Billy Ray Belcourt. Thank Christ I got this at the library. I read a collection of poems by Billy Ray Belcourt last year, and I did not like it. Billy Ray Belcourt is a bit of a Canadian sensation. He's First Nations. I think you know what that is. He's from Alberta, way out in the nowhere zone. He's gay, and I think he went to Cambridge to study literature, so he's quite a bon vivant at the moment. But it doesn't make him a good writer. Billy Ray Belcourt. Another Canadian, Anne Carson, Autobiography of Red. As the teacher mentioned last class, hybrid forms seems to be, it's not poetry, it's not a novel, it's something else. It's a hybrid form. And that's what hybrid forms are, so that it kind of looks like a poem and it kind of looks like a short story, but who knows what it is? Well, nobody in my creative writing class does. Open that, chapter 19. From the archaic to the fast self. Reality is a sound. You have to tune in to it, not just keep yelling. Now, if you're saying that's bullshit, it might not be. It might be profound. It might be bullshit, but it might be profound. He woke fast from a loud, wild dream that vanished at once and lay listening to the splendid, subtle ravines of Hades, where hard-working dawn monkeys were wheedling and baiting one another up and down the mahogany trees. The cries took little nicks out of him. This was when Garyon liked to plan his autobiography in that blurred state between awake and asleep, when too many intake valves are open in the soul. My goodness. Like the terrestrial crust of the earth, which is proportionally 10 times thinner than an eggshell, the skin of the soul is a miracle of mutual pressures. Millions of kilograms of force pounding up from the earth's core on the inside to meet the cold air of the world and stop as we do just in time. I have to read that. Fortunately, there's quite a lot of white on those pages and not too much black on those pages. Again, on the plus side, that's from the library, so I don't need to buy this goddamn thing. The last one for that particular creative writing class is a book which I do not have yet, called Night Train, by an author with a name I cannot pronounce. Snijers, a Dutch writer. And because I don't have it and I haven't looked at it, I can't say anything about it. But if it follows in this hybrid format, well, I'm sure I can look forward to that, can't I? All right, let's push those creative writing classes to the side, far to the side. And let's get into the English literature. So one class, which I think is like mandatory for my degree, is English 2200, which is Foundations of Western Literature. And that is something I was looking forward to with a bit of trepidation, because that was going to be the old stuff. That was going to be those books that nobody really wants to read unless you plan on being a professor, and then you do it grudgingly. Pilgrim's Progress, Canterbury Tales. I have no desire to read them, but this reading list for this class, only 4 books and a little bit extra that he will be giving us online. The first book is something that, yes, you could expect to read on a course like this, The Odyssey by Homer. Fortunately, I've read it before and enjoyed reading it before. It's written in a way that is nearly modern. The sentences are a bit long and flowing and a lot of these colorful metaphors. Very classic English, not as difficult to read as Shakespeare. Like, this is quite modern English, and I really have no trouble reading it, and it's fun. It's an adventure story. Odysseus is trapped on the island with Calypso. He has sex with her every night, but he's very sad because he wants to get home to his wife, Penelope, and his son, Telemachus. He was out fighting the Trojan War for 10 years, and now he's been trapped on the island with Calypso for 10 more years. And even though she makes love to him every night, and she promises, Odysseus, I will make you immortal, he says, no, I want to go back to Ithaca to be with my wife and my family and see my country. And this is the story of how Odysseus returns home. And Poseidon is quite angry with Odysseus because Odysseus blinded Poseidon's son, the Cyclops. And that's all very exciting. That's okay, yeah. Foundations of Western Literature, no problem. The second one, Medea by Euripides. I thought I had read this, but I have not. What happened to Medea? I don't really know. Medea, she was the wife of Jason, and Jason ran off to get married to someone else. As well, we're going to be getting some excerpts from the Bible, I suppose from Genesis, the story of creation. And I think he mentioned that we're also going to be getting some chapters from, what's the last book? The one, that the crazy people like, the devils and the dragons and the bullshit. Revelations, that's it. I think, it's going to be those. And that's fine, too. The third book on the list presents a bit of a problem. Problem number 1 is that just yesterday, I told Dr. Paul that I have a YouTube channel where I do book reviews, so there is a very strong likelihood that he's watching this video right now. Hello, Dr. Paul. If you're watching, please try not to get irate over a slight bit of criticism from a very small YouTube person. The second problem is that I do not like fantasy. I don't like it. I've devoted my life to proper literature, and I'll make you a promise. If I ever get completely, absolutely 100% finished with proper literature, and I mean that I've read all of it 2 and 3 times over so that I really get it, okay, then I will start with fantasy and science fiction and all the nonsense that I don't give a shit about. I don't like fantasy. It is stupid because you can do whatever you want. How is that different from proper fiction? Well, proper fiction, we hope, remains in the real world, right? We don't have any sudden magical influences. Well, what about the Odyssey? Odysseus is constantly being affected and moved and being made larger and stronger by Athena. She's always giving him a hand. Poseidon is always smashing his boats apart and sending him to these horrible islands. Wow, there's a bit of a moral dilemma, isn't there? I hadn't thought about it that way. Modern fiction, modern fantasy. I have no interest in reading Lord of the Rings. I don't know what a hobbit is, and I don't give a shit. An orc is a big dangerous creature that kills and eats and massacres hobbits. How do I care about that? I don't. If you want some action and adventure and horror, try reading Last Exit to Brooklyn by Hubert Selby Jr., all right? And then go back to your fucking hobbits. I just can't do it. And this book is written by Neil Gaiman, Norse mythology. I know Neil Gaiman is a genius, and I like the Sandman comic books as much as anyone. I used to be a big comic book guy. I'm not anymore. But Neil Gaiman's novel, American Gods, is stupid. It's stupid. It's not proper literature like all that stuff back there. It's not. I'm not looking forward to Norse mythology at all. And I think it's a weird selection for this class. Foundations of Western, is the book 10 years old? You know, in a class like this, I mean, we might have done Ulysses because it's connected to the Odyssey. All right, Ulysses, all right, we don't want to get into Ulysses because that's just too difficult for anyone. Something else, Moby Dick. What about the Scarlet Letter? That could be a book to read, you know, the foundations. What about Hamlet or Macbeth or King Lear? Those, I think, would be suitable to be on the reading list for this class, the Foundations of Western Literature. Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, it just seems a very eccentric choice. I'm sorry, Dr. Paul, but come on. The last one on the list, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And I think what he wants to do is he wants to tie back the Greek myths to The Road. I've read it twice. It's not my favorite Cormac McCarthy. It's good. I don't find it as depressing as everyone else. I find it just to be a survivor story, which is, you know, it's hard. The scene where they find the bomb shelter and all the food, I mean, that is just wonderful. That will make you happy to be alive. It's a good book, but again, it's so modern. It just seems a bit of a funny choice. Believe me, I am over the moon happy not to be reading Pilgrim's Progress and Canterbury Tales. And yeah, sure, I can read that, no problem. That's an easy book to read. It's just who knows, maybe I'll enjoy reading Norse mythology. It's just that it just looks like such an outstanding selection amongst the 3 other books. I'll read it. You know, I do intend to read everything. And now, the last class on the list, English Literature 2315, taught by Neil Patrick Kennedy. I had a class with Professor Kennedy last year. It was also very heavy on the reading. Every single week we had to read a play. This is the same. There's a lot of reading on this list. Professor Kennedy, he is quite a striking figure. He is a hulking individual. He is really a large man. He's full of this manly exuberance, and he's powerful. Burly is the word. I saw him once. This is no lie here. I saw him once at a public swimming pool. He was standing at the edge of the pool, and he reached in, and his hand, he has this thick, manly hair, thick, wavy, manly hair on his hand and his knuckles, and he reached into the swimming pool and he single-handedly pulled out a fully grown water polo player. And she was thrashing around. My God. So he is a powerful man, I'll tell you. So you don't want to get on the wrong side of Professor Kennedy. And here is his book list. The Brothers Manachus. The Brothers Manachus, by a writer named Platus or Platus. I do not know. I have to read that this weekend. Second book, The Comedy of Errors, the second play, The Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare. That's fine. Every year I try to read one comedy and one tragedy, and I'm going to get my comedy out of the way early this year. I do enjoy reading William Shakespeare, although the tragedies quite a lot more than the comedies. And The Brothers Manachus is what inspired The Comedy of Errors, so that is kind of fun to read them like that. Gulliver's Travels, not all of it, just the 4th section, which is, well, they go to Lilliput, which is the little people, and then they go to Brogbagdon something, where he's the little one and they are the giants. And then he goes, he goes to a land where there are talking horses, and then he goes to another place where there's these people who are so smart, they just sit silently and you have to hit them on the head if you want them to say anything. I think that's the 4th book. Paradise Lost, book number 2 by Milton. I should have said at the beginning that English Literature 2315, this class is called humor or satirical writing. And it is very hard to know how anything called Paradise Lost, written by Milton, is going to be seen as humorous. But I do trust Professor Kennedy's judgment. The Mempsychosis, doesn't that sound like a barrel of monkeys? The Mempsychosis by John Donne, parts 1 and parts 2. Gosh, that'll be fun to read, the Mempsychosis, huh? Next time I go to a cocktail party, I'll probably be regaling the room with anecdotes from this wonderful book called The Mempsychosis. After that, we have something called Absalom and Achitophel. Unfortunately, I didn't bother to write down who the author was, so I'm really a dummy. After that, we have The Rape of Locke, written by Pope. It's got to be good if there's rape in the title. Knee slapper. The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. I have been fairly critical of Dickens. In all honesty, I've only read one. I've only read Great Expectations. But I think if you read a book called Great Expectations and it ends up being really boring, story-wise, quite almost a lot of nothing, you do have a bit of a complaint on your hands. Like, I bought this book and it's called Great Expectations, and man, was I ever let down by that title. So I haven't been a big fan of Dickens, and I guess I should give him another chance. So here we go, The Old Curiosity Shop. And finally, A Handful of Dust by Evelyn Waugh. I have a very strange relationship with Evelyn Waugh. It just seems that there are some writers who I don't particularly like too much, and for whatever reason, I've read quite a lot of their literature. Margaret Atwood, I don't like, and I've read a lot of her books. And not because of high school or university reading lists, just on my own steam. I've read quite a lot of Margaret Atwood. Even though I don't like her, I just keep trying. I suppose what happens is I keep thinking, well, this is a very well-known and respected author. People love this author. And everything I read, I don't enjoy. So I keep reading more, hoping to discover what it is that people like about them. William S. Burroughs. I'm not a fan. Why do people like this William S. Burroughs guy? Maybe they're trying to read something about Tarzan and they just keep picking up the wrong Burroughs. And Evelyn Waugh is another one that I'm not very keen on, and I've read almost everything he's written. Yes, nearly all of it. And I've read A Handful of Dust twice. Is it good? It's a very silly story about a rich couple, and the wife has an affair with this man who's not really of her social standing. He's a bit lower, and him having an affair with her raises him in society. So that's good for him. The couple break up because their son dies in this accident. He's killed. I think his neck is broken. Together with the affair that the wife is having, this sets the man off, and he decides to go on a big adventure to Africa, where he gets hopelessly lost. And it's just full of quite a lot of that high-handed British humor, irony, which had its time and its day. And it's not quite my thing because it's a little bit too clever. When I read Evelyn Waugh, I feel that I can see Evelyn Waugh hanging over my shoulder, smiling, like, oh, did you like that line? Yeah, that's a good one, huh? So yes, thank you, Evelyn. It's fine, thanks. Did you like what I wrote there? That was pretty good, huh? Kingsley Amis couldn't write a line like that. That was much better than anything Kingsley Amis could do. Thank you, Evelyn. That's fine, thanks. I read it twice. We'll see. We ran out of time the last time I had a class with Professor Kennedy, and we didn't get to the final book. The nice thing about, I think, 3 of these classes, I think the creative writing class, the short story class, I'll be able to make a video, so you'll be able to see that. The class with Dr. Paul, even after all those insulting things I said about Norse mythology, don't take it personally. I like these books, you like those books, we like different books. Come on, man, it's not a personal thing. I'll be able to make a video for Dr. Paul's class, I believe, so that will be something fun, and also for Professor Kennedy's class, I'll be able to make some videos. So I have no excuse for making videos this semester. So that is the reading list for the first semester of 2023. It's a lot. It's really a lot. We're spending 3 weeks on the Odyssey. So last week we had to read chapters 1 to 7. Fine. The coming week we have to read chapters 8 to 14. All right, I've just done that. But as well, this week I have to read Grey All Over and the brothers Menelaus and the short story for the creative writing class. So this weekend I'm just going to be sitting here on the sofa, reading and reading and reading. I have been feeling a little bit wondering about some of the other students and how they manage to get by in their university classes doing as little reading as possible. I've been a bit, maybe it would be nice to learn how these students seem to know what they're talking about without reading the text. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Hello, this is Grant Loves Books, and my name is Grant. If you would like to support an eager, hardworking, diligent university student, you can for a little or even a lot of money every month. There is a link below to my Patreon account where, well, every week I write a little update on what's happening in my life, tell you all the secret personal stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And there is quite a lot that I write about. It's my little therapy session, I feel. As well, I upload the videos early, so you get to see the videos before anyone else does. And also there's going to be the unrated version of this video, which hopefully the university teachers don't. What can I do? What can I do? I've got a big mouth, I guess. So that would be wonderful. If you want to buy any of the books, I'll provide a link below to Amazon. You just click, it takes you right to Amazon. You could buy the books and I will get a tiny little sliver of whatever money you spend. And even if you don't buy the books and you decide to buy something else, something expensive like luggage or printer or a digital camera, if you're an old person like me, or, you know, some stuff. Bookcases, or a really nice silk necktie. Any of the money you spend when you follow my link, I get a little fraction of whatever you spend. And that helps too. Not very much though. The Patreon helps a lot more. So if you really want to help, go to Patreon. $10 a month. Think about that. It's like 2 Starbucks coffees. 2 Starbucks coffees, and you are helping me so much. You are supporting someone who loves literature. Isn't that a good thing? Yeah, it's a good thing. Come on, you know, do the right thing. Thank you for watching. Take care. I'm Grant. Grant Loves Books. I hope I said that already. Is too hard for modern students because they're all stunted. Can't put that in.